The Fountain of Alcohol is a Mexican story. Once upon a time, in a small village in Mexico, there was a mysterious spring. The spring was known as the Fountain of Alcohol, and instead of ordinary water, it flowed with a sweet, fragrant, alcohol-like liquid. The villagers cherished the spring so much that on special festival days, they used the water to raise a toast and show their gratitude to the gods. The origin of this spring was passed down through ancient myths. For a long time, there was a legend in the village. It is said that the god who lived near the village performed a sacred ritual on the top of the mountain and bestowed a spring of alcohol that flowed as a blessing to the villagers. It was said that the gods brought a bountiful harvest and health to the villagers through the spring. However, the spring contained a secret that you had to pay attention to. One year, there was a man named Juan in the village. Juan was the most adventurous person in the village and was always interested in new things. He heard ancient legends and became interested in the secrets of the spring. The villagers avoided approaching the spring and tried to use the water as carefully as possible, saying that the fountain of alcohol is a blessing from God, but Juan couldn't help but want to see if the legend was true. One evening, Juan made up his mind and headed to the spring. When I reached the spring under the moonlight, the water in the spring seemed to be glowing. Fascinated by its beauty, Juan fetched water into his bowl. He tried to drink a little of the water, but the taste was more intense than he expected, and his whole body became warm. "This is amazing." Juan was surprised. However, a strange feeling soon followed. Drinking the spring water, Juan gradually lost his composure and felt his mood rise. And the scenery around him slowly changed, and a fantastic scenery began to unfold. At that time, the image of God appeared from the spring in front of Juan. God said, "Juan, you may regret drinking this water." Juan was surprised. "I just wanted to see if the legend is true." I replied. God smiled quietly. "This spring brings joy and abundance to people. However, if you drink too much of that water, you will have too much pleasure and lose your judgment. And in the end, your mind will be disturbed and you will lose what is most important to you." Juan understood the words and hurriedly walked away from the spring. After a while, his mind cleared, and the scenery returned to its original world. However, since that night, Juan has not drunk the spring water again. A few years later, Juan returned to the village and told the villagers about his experience. And he said, "The water of the fountain of alcohol is indeed a grace from God, but do not rely on it excessively. It has the power to bring abundance to people, but it is most important to keep moderation and keep your heart." Since then, the villagers have cherished the fountain of alcohol and held a feast every year using a little bit of the water, but they tried not to drink too much. The spring water was still sacred and continued to be a source of happiness and prosperity for the villagers. And Juan's lessons are still passed down among the villagers. Everyone correctly understands the power of the fountain of alcohol and carefully enjoys its grace. End.